I don't want to just have you come to the brokerage. And Ryan, don't worry, I'm not trying to bring him over. I'm talking to his Ryan Serafel. Don't worry, I'm not. He's off limits, I promise. Is really, really important for the type of people you attract. Like for us on the spring team, we have a path to partnership. It's just really easy for an agent that doesn't want to be part of a team to not feel lonely and to still get some of the support. If you don't have the experience, or at least mentored by a team of some sort. I really feel like it should be mandatory to be part of a team, or at least have some sort of mentor situation going on.
Mandatory with us, you have to have a mentor for your first 12 months.
Which is awesome, which is why you've grown so like dramatically over the past few years. I love your company. I love what Revel's doing, and it's one of the companies that is definitely to watch because they do all the things that we're talking about right now.
From wine country to cottage country, real estate is all about lifestyle. I'm Andrew Perry, and welcome to That Fine Life. Hey everyone, welcome back to That Fine Life podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Perry, and this is the podcast where we interview brokers, owners, influencers. We find out what it takes to essentially live that fine life. And Ara, my good buddy from Toronto, the spring team.
Spring team.
You've come all the way in your Tesla from Toronto, but it's not that much of a difficult drive.
It's
like Dave Hutch had to take his Cadillac.
His Cadillac?
Yeah, he's
got a Jeep or something, doesn't he?
He lives downtown Toronto, but he's got a big Cadillac Escalade.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially when you're going like a few blocks over.
Totally makes a lot of sense, you know?
Yeah.
He's a guy that makes a lot of sense. I love that guy.
He does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a funny guy.
I agree.
But what, he had some problems coming out here?
Oh, no. He just complained that it took 12 hours.
Well, I mean, I don't like to complain much, you know?
So then there you go.
I got a lot of work done in the car. I'm not going to tell you how because, you know.
Yeah.
But
to be expected in a Tesla.
I just like the drive, you know? And honestly, you guys have the supercharger situation out here.
Yeah, we have a few.
You got quite a few. Like, you just randomly have one in some motel parking lot in Grimsby on the way up here.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 20 of them there, and these are the 150 watt ones, like kilowatt ones, like good ones. So,
well, because I remember you were saying last time you took a visit, I think it was your daughter's dance recital.
Yeah, we came out, not here, but we were out to Blue Mountain,
and you couldn't find, it was like a normal, here's for electric cars, and it was a normal plug.
Hilarious. So we check into this hotel, I don't know how this relates to real estate, but it's a fun story anyway.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Like we check into this Blue Mountain, like one of the main hotels there. I'm like, hey, you guys have any car charging here? She's like, yeah, just go down to the parking level. So I go down to the parking level, and there's like legit a wall outlet like this one beside the parking spot. I'm like, what?
So how long would that take to charge your car? All night?
I know, not even 2 days. So I did that. So I was at my buddy's cottage a couple winters ago when I first got the car. And of course, he doesn't have a Tesla charger at the cottage. And I was fine. I could have gone to the one in Peterborough as well, but I just thought I'd plug in a normal plug. So arrived on a Friday morning and left on a Sunday evening, and I barely got 160 kilometers added to the charge. I still had to charge on the way home.
Yeah.
So they're not very useful, so it wouldn't have been all that helpful.
Right. Yeah. Because and don't worry about all the car talk. Because last time we had Matt Leonetti on here, he took up half the podcast talking about his Subaru. No, he was telling everybody how much he wasn't a car guy, but that's his Subaru's the best. So
for 30 minutes, just went on.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Green. I forget the interior now, but I appreciate you coming all the way down.
Of course, man.
And
pleasure.
So walk us through. Because off camera you were because I remember when I first met you, I believe you were with Remax when it started. So how long have you been in the business?
15 years.
15 years, okay.
Started my career 2007, 2008 when the entire world was melting down. In hindsight, that was kind of a blessing, actually.
Yeah.
Knowing what a market is like when, everything's not flying off the shelf, when people are scared, when, at that time, it wasn't really like an interest rate concern. It was like, am I going to lose every penny that I have because these banks are imploding all over the place kind of thing, which was, in my opinion, a bigger event than what we're going through right now, less predictable, kind of a different beast altogether. So at the time, it was interesting because, number one, I didn't know anything else. So that's kind of where I learned. And a lot of the older guys in my office at the time who are now long retired, they were the ones that kind of helped me with the mentality that I have today going through this kind of market where they've seen other markets before. They've seen things not so hot. So like their calmness during that time, I think was a blessing for me to experience because I feel like there's a lot of people unnecessarily panicking over the past few years and like creating fear with their content that they're putting out there. and not really understanding true real estate cycles and what happens.
I agree.
So I found that pretty frustrating over the past few years, because a lot of those like doomsday real estate bears, if you want to use like day trader kind of talk, like I don't believe, like one of my other core kind of beliefs is that you can't day trade real estate. So I hate when you talk like, you know, about I'm a bear, I'm a bull. It's like, I just don't understand that, because it's such a short term way to think about stuff. But a lot of fear was created unnecessarily. And I think that I was, you know, very lucky to come up in a market like I did. But like, you know, also in my first year in real estate, I made like $6,000.
Oh yeah.
And I made $6,000 because I charged myself commission to sell my own condo.
Right.
At the time.
Yeah. Well, I think one of my properties was one of my first deals too.
Right. It was my first. I had done some rentals and stuff, because like, I don't know where you're listening to this from, but in Toronto, like rentals are a big part of a lot of teams' businesses.
Yeah.
And that's how I cut my teeth and understood paperwork and kind of learned. I would just go on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And like, there was like, I think it's still there. It's like the housing wanted section where people would just put like what their needs are. And I would go through it. I'd be like, anything $1,200 or more per month, I'm just going to send emails to, and just send like, here's some options, here's some options, here's some options. And then some of them would reply, and I just get some clients that way.
Yeah.
And
well, I tried leases to help get started too. And, you know, it's just here, it's a lot. It's crazy, because a lot of what we find is that all the landlords, not all of them, but definitely a lot more now, are from Toronto. Okay. So they're used to, okay, you better have this, like
employment letters, credit checks, all the things.
Or else you're not getting the property.
Right.
And then we're here, it's like, okay, guys, like most people looking for $1,200 do not have a $600-700 credit score, or 600 credit score.
Right.
So it's like, it was very difficult, but it's I guess it's a great way to kind of grind your teeth and get, you know, used to it
there's
all.
There's like
right?
more paperwork involved in a lease than
Way
there is in
more.
a purchase.
And then
like,
sometimes you can pay $500 and then the brokerage takes out.
So it's honestly, most of the time, it tends to not be worth it as like a long-term business strategy for an agent. But, you know, on my team, the spring team in Toronto, like you don't get to touch a buyer until you've done like 5 to 10 leases first.
I think that's a great
So we don't
idea.
like turn on buyer leads until you've, you know, done a bunch of leases, or if you've come to the team experienced in the first place.
Right.
But as a new agent, I think leases are really important to teach you how to communicate with clients, to understand paperwork, to kind of understand the detail and all the things. I think it's a great way to start.
And I think, you know, if you're playing it correctly, in Toronto's a really good market for this. It works here too, but I mean, like so much so that we're working on the, you know, aspects of creating definitely not a property management division, but like a lease division. So we get, you know, assisted by the mentors on the team, of course. Like we're not just going to throw a new person at a lease just for the hell of it, right? They're going to be trained. Yep. But those, you know, what happens is you know, a guy and a girl, a guy and a guy, girl and girl, whatever, they get together and they're partners, and now they're moving into their first unit together. You know, they don't have enough down payment yet, but maybe after a year or so, it's working out so well. Not my first girlfriend when we moved in together, but that's another story for another podcast.
Let's talk about it.
Right? So they get used to it and they say, hey, you know what? I think this is time. Let's go look into buying. Yeah. And so those people that you help service, if you treat them like a buyer or seller client, you're following up with them, sending those TIM cards, those 1-year anniversaries, those birthday cards, that eventually they're going to call you when they're looking to buy.
100%.
And then when they're looking to sell, when they have that first kid.
It's an amazing way to build a long-term business for yourself if you do what you say you did. If you nurture that person and take care of them like a normal, you know, a good human being wants to be taken care of. Like forget it whether they're a buyer or a seller. If you're going to say, I'm going to do this rental, why would you do it half-assed?
Right.
You know?
And for one of our landlord clients, just a quick story is they had a tenant, and we always try to treat them like gold. Say, hey, you know, there's a showing coming. If they're being difficult, like here's $5, like go to Tim Hortons or whatever. And our first meeting, I went and talked to them. I said, hey, we're putting the lockbox on. You know, just wanted to know if you're okay with this. After these 24 hours, if you're not here, we can let people in. Is that okay? Yeah, okay, great. Well, here, look, here's $50 to the LCBO. Yep. And we also did the TIM card. We also did a $100 keg card for a family too, right?
It's very important.
And they really appreciated that, because working with tenants inside of a property is a very, very difficult process sometimes.
It is. Like we actually have a couple of our landlord clients have their properties on the market right now. And managing tenants can be a major issue sometimes if you don't do it right. And I'm really happy that you said you take care of the tenants like that, because one of the first things we do is we ask the tenant what their favorite spots are in the neighborhood. And then we get them, and then we get them a couple of gift cards to the, because they're going to have to step out for showings and stuff, right?
Of course.
So, you know, it's a pain in the butt. I get it. Like, you're not going to say, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. Like, you can't just do that. Like, you have to acknowledge that you are intruding in these people's lives to sell an asset
that isn't theirs.
That isn't theirs.
Yeah.
And so they have to accommodate you. It's their home. Like, it's not a regular investment. So you have to understand that and respect them. But you know what's crazy is, like, the one piece of advice I give my landlord clients that's actually cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years is, I always, whenever a landlord comes and tells me that they want to sell their place, I'm like, look, I would love to sell this place, but go to your tenant and ask them if they want to buy it before we do anything. And obviously I'm not getting paid on that deal if the tenant buys it, but over the years, it's happened way more than I thought it was going to happen.
Right.
And I can't remember what the actual calculation is. I think it's somewhere just under $500,000 in the past 15 years.
Holy
I have an
smokes.
Instagram post about it at some time. If you go back in my feed, you'll see it. It
I'll
was
have
like
to watch that
400
one.
and something $1,000 in overall commission over 15 years.
Right.
That I've essentially cost myself by offering that advice to landlords. But anyway, it's another way that you really can take care of somebody and make sure you're not in it for my own interest, but for theirs.
Well, and if they're buying again.
Well, dude,
right,
if
makes
they're
that
buying
process
again, or like, you know, imagine, like, obviously I'm going to get referrals from
Of
this
course.
person. Like, I like to think long-term with a lot of these things.
Yes.
And,
Me too.
you know, like, I find that a lot of agents really get hung up on, like, little
now.
things that really don't matter. Like, you know, oh, your buyer client moved into a house they just bought, and, oh, the dishwasher's not working.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get the lawyer. We'll call this up. Just
Yeah.
fucking fix it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
call the handyman. Under $500 probably to get this thing fixed. Like, just fix it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there are some times where you got to dig in your heels and you got to hold a seller accountable for stuff that they do that's not in line with the contract that you've
Right.
signed. But then there's other times where you just have to make shit happen and keep your buyer or seller happy. And if that means spending a little bit of money, do it.
And here's another thing too, is like, most of the time I don't even tell my clients as well.
Just get it done.
Just
right?
get it done.
Yeah.
Like, we had one where the agent listing the property actually was the seller. And I'll be honest, you know, it was a little difficult, and like, but just like any seller situation could arise. But we ended up having, because we wanted to close a day later, we had to pay for $500 for their non-use of their storage bin. They're like, well, we have an extra day now. We'll just take 2 trips with the truck. But they had already rented. I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'll buy it, whatever,
Yeah.
pay off the contract. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I didn't tell my clients that. For one of my clients were Italian. If I did tell them that, they're like, no, we're not closing.
Right. Right. You create more problems out of
Exactly.
nowhere, right?
But I want to switch gears a little bit, because
Yeah.
you brought up how you started in 2008, a crazy year.
Yeah.
I kind of started in a similar situation, but a little worse, because I had a taste of that sweet good life.
Okay.
2016,
Ooh,
when the
yes.
first boom.
Yes.
And then by the time I got into, it was like, 2017, my first listing sold within, we had an offer date, right? So it sold within a week. We got like 14 offers or something like that. And then it was like, hey, Andrew, here's your little sweet
the last
taste.
property before.
It was the last property before it went dry.
Well, that was like April of 2017 when the Kathleen
exactly
Wynne's,
when it was.
Kathleen Wynne's Liberal government at the time, they released their Ontario Fair Housing Plan or Act or Plan, whatever it was called. And the stress test was introduced at that time. Foreign buyer tax was introduced at that time. So there's a lot of things that
And I'm
crushed.
glad that all put a damper on the housing industry.
Well, honestly, at the time, it was like, things were booming, and all of a sudden, like, Toronto was fine during that time, because Toronto is one of the most resilient markets in the world. There's just so much demand for Toronto. What really got hammered at that time were the suburban communities that were heavy on speculation, with people that had these loans that were, a little questionable, that when the stress test came in, it was impossible to have these people follow through on these deals.
Right.
And the way they rolled it out was, it wasn't like, okay, it's starting at this time. It's like, as of now. So even if you had a deal signed or whatever, so it kind of messed up a lot of the suburbs where, like, Richmond Hill, Markham,
Yes.
those communities took like a 30 to 40% hit, like almost immediately in prices. And even COVID didn't do that. After the boom, like this past, year, even the downswing we've just gone through didn't even do that.
No.
But it did to what I call it is kind of like, the 2016-17 was like the burbs problem.
Yeah.
2022 was the Bergs with a G, like the further out communities, like the Kleinbergs and it's a Berg, not a burb problem.
Yeah, no, I like how you said that because that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I said it's those towns like, Fort Erie, Port Colborne, like Waynfleet, all the ones that were, okay, so if this is Niagara Falls, let's just use this, Niagara Falls, Waynfleet in terms of pricing. Right. And now next thing you know, Niagara Falls, Waynfleet. Right. Like it's almost impossible as to why that should have happened.
Well, and that's the thing. Like those markets that were appreciating so fast just because they were cheaper.
Right.
There was no other reason for people to buy there because, well, number one, people had this foolish belief that, like, I'm going to talk about Toronto specifically, and you can add some, from your area, but like people for some reason thought that downtown was just dead and like nobody was going to come back. And I thought that was the craziest thought to have. Like, are you serious? Like, of course, this isn't like a thing. This is not going to change our lives to the point where nobody's downtown anymore. It's going to change the way offices are used and stuff like that. But anyway, like long story short, people made buying decisions that I think were not the smartest at the time. And I was telling my clients, like, listen, like you do not need to move to like an hour away. Your office is going to call you back eventually. But those places that were bought up just because they were cheaper, they didn't really have any other reason for people to be there. Right. No other attraction, no other whatever. Those areas got hammered the moment people started coming back.
For us, it was the rural properties. Everybody wanted to started to grow their own corn. Like I don't know.
Everybody's trying to become like some sort of like self-sufficient. Like you're going to grow all your food all of a sudden.
Comes, I've got this acre.
Dude, if you can show me how to grow a Big Mac, I'll be there like right away.
That's right. But hey, that chicken Big Mac wasn't as impressive as I was hoping.
So funny you say that. Like I've been on this like health kick. I've lost like 50 pounds since January the 3rd.
Looking great, man.
And but the one thing I wanted to have was this Big Mac chicken Big Mac thing as like a cheat meal, but I couldn't find it in any McDonald's. I think people are like buying them all up.
Well, you know what? Because it's not like a McChicken, and it's not a crispy chicken, and it's not a junior chicken.
So you've had
it. It's like some new.
It doesn't taste good.
It's just an enlarged chicken nugget, but the chicken to batter ratio is not.
All right, enough. So I'm glad that I didn't find it. Okay.
So where I was going,
we went on a tangent.
Where I was going about starting in that type of market was that. Okay, so we had a taste of what it could be like to actually make a deal happen.
Yep.
But then it went dead. So our mindset had to shift fast. So because, I ended up buying my first property before that deal had closed and before I'd even had made any...
Your own, for yourself. Okay.
So before I made any commissions. So I'm a high risk kind of guy.
Most agents are.
I needed to do that in order to buckle down and just focus. But what the important thing is that it wasn't just a bitch fest or I was crying or, whining on social media. It was actually, I had to go re-educate myself, find out how to get in front of new people. Where I think most people make the biggest mistake is, okay, I need to get the next new shiny object. I need to spend tens of thousands of dollars on online leads.
That's me. So I've been doing that for years.
Right? But the problem is when you get into the cycle of chasing something new, you lose that back to basics mentality that every salesperson should have, which is education and just talking to as many people as possible. Yeah. So with your team, and we were talking about, your the brokerage Real that you're with now, and you're the Real Collective, and everything that you're talking about in terms of, events, education and mentorship for your team. Like how important is that, especially now, let alone, what we could have experienced. Like I would have loved to have been a part of something like this back in 2016.
Well, I mean, real estate's a lonely business, right? So, and it's probably like, I don't know, it's not the only industry, but it's a industry that deals with a very significant asset for people where, you would think continuing education would be like a mandatory, serious part of our business. But aside from that random online course we have to take every 2 years to keep our license, continuing education is totally voluntary. So you've got all these agents out there serving the communities. Some have gone all in on learning and growing and getting better every single day, and some do absolutely nothing. So it's pretty crazy. So that's why I feel like, I mean, I've always been a proponent of growing and learning, and you know, I learn through teaching. So I really love to kind of get my teeth sink my teeth into like a new idea, learn a little bit of it myself, and then start to help other people understand it so I can understand it better, which is why I think I started a brokerage back in 2011 with two of my best friends. And we used, you know, we had weekly masterminds and, you know, kind of did all that stuff. We attended Inman conferences often. We created similar conference type experiences here in Toronto just to help level up people's knowledge and our own knowledge too. Because I just feel like it just sucks that it's not mandatory to do all that kind of stuff. So it's the environment that I've created on the team, and through our community that we've created at Real Broker as well. Where, I mean, just tonight we're doing something called a Thirsty Thursday. Once a month we do Thirsty Thursdays at our office, where we have a speaker that is just an expert on on whatever topic. We had lead gen and lead conversion last month. We're doing how to level up your social game, and kind of expand your network and close more deals through Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that tonight, for agents. And it's pretty awesome how hungry people are for that sort of thing.
I agree. And, you know, of course, there's people who absolutely don't want to do it, but then there's also people who do want to do it, but maybe they could be two things. They're not as motivated to find out where to find the information, or maybe they just physically don't know where to look.
Well, there is no central place to look. So if you know, I just got really lucky in my career, and that's what happens in real estate. You just get lucky with your network and who you surround yourself with. And my first coach, Gene Cheng at Coldwell Banker, in 2007, like, this guy was phenomenal. He showed me the way, like in a great way. Without him, I wouldn't have, you know, been recruited by Brad Lamb's office after that. And then I wouldn't have been able to start my own office and then, you know, get on the stage and start speaking at Inman conferences and stuff like that. So,
So what is the biggest difference then from starting your own brokerage to, then did you start your own brokerage, then go right to Real? Or
no, so I'll give you kind of like a path over since I started. So I started my career, it's my second career. I was in healthcare before. I started in 2007 at a Coldwell Banker office near my place at Bayview and Shepherd in Toronto, like a little north of downtown. Right behind where Kyle Lowry's house was, actually.
Oh, nice.
He wasn't around at the time, but you know, now. And so Coldwell Banker for a couple of years, and then I got recruited by Brad Lamb, which is a major condo developer in Toronto, big sales team, had that show, Big City Broker. I joined the team shortly after that show was wrapping up, so I was on like one episode at the end.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And then while at Brad Lamb, I feel like I got a little too cocky, a little too like, oh, I'm good at this real estate stuff. I'm crushing it. I can do it. So my two best friends, they're still my best friends, which is great. We were like, hey, let's do something together, you know? So we started a brokerage called Spring Realty. And so I was the real estate broker. My friend Brian, he was like the tech kind of coder data guy. And then Julian was the designer, marketing, creative guy. And so we built this awesome brand, and like we were the first real estate group in Toronto to use the virtual office website technology, the VOW, which allowed like a live stream of data from the MLS to populate our search tool.
Nice.
So we were the first to do that, first office to go paperless, like just a lot of really cool things that we did. But we were all just super shitty business people and like just had no idea what we were doing. And so the team kind of grew, and then everybody quit, and then they grew, and then they quit. I just didn't know how to lead. I didn't really know what I was doing. I should not have started a brokerage like 4 years into real estate.
Right.
That's dumb. Do not start a brokerage straight out of the gate. Dumbest thing you could do. So anyway, I ended up buying out my partners, my two partners. It was a little rocky. Getting into business with your best friends is not ideal, and without a business plan or anything, we just kind of did it. But then in 2017, after I bought my partners out, I had an opportunity with a company called property.ca. It's a brokerage in Toronto that owns condos.ca, which is North America's largest condo resale portal. Has a team of 200 agents that work the leads that come in from it. So Spring Realty merged with property.ca, and that's when Spring Realty became the Spring team. And then we were at property.ca until 2020. COVID started.
Yep.
And then, the senior vice president at condos, Ryan Wykes, who you know, him and I decided to leave property.ca. So he left a pretty big paying job there to jump on to create the new version of the spring team. We went to Remax Hallmark.
Right.
And so we went to Hallmark because I love that company, great company, great leadership team, great administrative department, awesome. We went there because all of the big players in our markets were there. And we wanted to be around those people.
Of course. Makes
sense.
sense.
Learn from them and contribute and take and give and, have a good little relationship going on there. We had no intention of leaving. But then we just found that we weren't getting the open playbook kind of masterminding that we were hoping for. Because, I'm an open book. I'll tell you whatever you need to know.
Yeah.
If you want a spreadsheet, I'll send it to you. If you want something I've worked hours on, I'll send it to you.
Schedule that we've
whatever.
designed.
I don't care. I'll send it to you because I feel like it just helps everybody out. We just weren't getting that back, but we still weren't really thinking of leaving. But then this new company from the States called Real Broker came onto the scene here in Toronto. My good friend Amy Youngren, she took her team, the North Group, over there. So Ryan at the time called her up. He's like, "Hey, what's up with this company? What's going on here?" Because we were thinking about EXP at one point.
Yeah.
Even before going to Remax.
Right.
We just didn't really, feel a connection there. So we decided that it wasn't for us, even though I believe in that model. That incentivizes agent attraction and stuff like that.
Of course.
I believe that is a great model to work with if you're, if that's up your alley. So after speaking to Amy, we really dug into it deep and we saw the potential for just creating different streams of income, but also adding a ton of value to the brokerage community. So we jumped over to Real. It's been a year actually as of next week.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, man. It's been a year as of next week. And, when we moved the team over there, actually Ryan and I split as partners last end of the first quarter of last year.
Yep.
So I took over the spring team. He focused on building the Real Collective community. So Real Collective is the community that Amy started at Real Broker as a way of creating a platform to provide value to the agents that we bring into the network at Real.
Yes.
So like I said, before we started recording, if I'm going to say, "Hey, Andrew, you should come check out what we're doing here at Real Broker. I think it'd be a good fit for you." I don't want to just have you come to the brokerage. And Ryan, don't worry, I'm not trying to bring him over. I'm talking to his Ryan Sarabell. Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not. He's off limits, I promise. I just wanted to make sure we had an infrastructure in place to help support people we brought in.
Of course.
And this is Amy's brainchild. So Ryan, Amy, and I kind of started moving that forward together.
Yep.
And then I kind of focused more on the team, and Ryan and Amy focused more on the community. I contribute to the community by speaking at the masterminds, the quarterly CollabCon events that we do. We have actually right now, as we speak, there's a team leader mastermind going on the Monday morning, kind of what we call rocket fuel sessions, which is like a way to kind of kickstart your Monday with a specific topic and some motivation and stuff like that.
I love that.
So we're super happy where we are now. So from last year, the spring team had 6 agents when we made the switch. Since the year, we've gone from 6 to 14 agents on the spring team. And my personal network at Real is going to 54. 54 agents. So it's really just allowed me to put my foot down on the gas and do some good things. So I'm pretty happy where we are.
Because one thing I've always noticed about you and Amy was the events and education. You were always about that collaboration. And then now what I've seen with, because I follow you guys a lot, is that there's always something going on in ways of social or education.
Yep.
And Amy's, and you guys, I'm always seeing new events, new this, bringing in speakers. How important is that, do you think, to, maintain that culture?
It's massively important. I think the more value that we can add to the broker community, whether you're in our network at Real, not in our network at Real, or at another brokerage altogether, there's only 5 agents from Real coming to this thing we're doing today.
Right.
These are cross-platform, cross-brokerage things. It just makes agents better, which makes when we're out there actually buying and selling real estate, which is what we do.
Yes.
We don't just do events and podcasts and stuff like that. Course. All of this is just to remain, active and keep our brain sharp and stuff like that. But ultimately, we sell real estate. Yeah. So if I can contribute to agents leveling up their knowledge and becoming better agents, that makes the transaction better. That makes the whole community better. That makes it gives the real estate profession a better look overall in the public eye. Because as you know, like, realtors don't have the best reputation out there for,
Right.
And rightfully so in some cases, because there's some shady MFers out there.
That's right.
In any industry, but specifically, I know real estate deeply. And I just feel like we all have a duty to kind of leave the places that we are in better shape once we leave them.
Right.
And that could be a home, it could be a cottage you're renting, or it could be the industry that you currently occupy. And for me, being able to add that kind of value to the whole to the real estate community is just, it means so much. Like, it's very important.
Right.
I take that very seriously. And it's not just to help me recruit agents. It's not that. Like,
Right.
it does, that is a side effect.
But like, why not? If these are things that you're doing anyways, why not, try to benefit from it? Because
and it does happen. I'm not going to lie.
Exactly.
Like, when we do these events, like, of course, I'm going to start conversations with people that might result in them coming to work on my team or whatever.
Or even just the fact, like, I went to Revel's Christmas party and I was like, yeah, I love the people.
Oh, before you joined?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And it had nothing to do with
The basketball court?
That's where it was. It had nothing to do with like the real estate, what they offered, their systems, their processes, their branding. It had everything to do with the culture.
Yeah.
Nobody even talked to me about joining. I think this is where I need to be.
Honestly, man, and that's what happens. And like, when we do these things, it's often like, hey, thanks for that event. By the way, can we talk about real, or can we talk about the spring team? And it's just it's a passive way of doing what we're trying to do.
And another reason why I joined Revel too is the growth opportunities, because Revel was such a company that was in its infancy at the time.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
What year did you join?
End of 2017. So I was in real estate for 1 year before.
And then you jumped on. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I've been with them for over 5 years now.
Right.
So anyways, it was like, I knew that a company in its infancy was going to be growing the way it was, right? And I'm like, I got to get a part of that growth, help them grow there, take, a little bit of what they've taught me and what I know and merge it together. And that's kind of how I've aligned myself with this brand. So talk about kind of the growth either for you or for a potential person, because I mean, obviously in a brokerage like yours, there's massive opportunity to kind of grow exponentially.
Yeah.
Or maybe faster than the traditional model.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, whether you're considering joining a team or a brokerage, a really great question to ask is, what does my career path look like 10 years from now here? Talking about the spring team specifically, I don't want to have agents that are just under my thumb forever. Right. I don't want them but if that's what you want to be, if you but if you want to build a solid career, make a couple $100,000 a year, and you're cool with that, and like, that's just what you want to do, you can be a part of the team for as long as you want. Yes. But I just really feel like offering growth opportunities beyond that is really, really important for the type of people you attract. Like, for us on the spring team, we have a path to partnership, where you can either just hand me a check for like $250,000 and you're a partner today, seated at the table right beside me. Nobody's going to do that. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to do that. But the option's there. But, we have certain metrics that if an agent meets, then the partner conversation starts. If you're doing over 800 G's in commission a year, if you're responsible for at least 4 new team members on the team at any given time, if you have made efforts to move the spring team brand forward, then we sit down and talk about partnership.
I like that.
And that's on the team. And then on the brokerage side of things, there are a lot of people that are thinking about retirement at some point. How am I going to retire as an agent? And for me, one of the things that's always in my mind is, like, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, I was driving through Leslieville community in Toronto, and it was like a Sunday. And this agent must've been in his 60s. This poor guy was putting out open house signs.
Ah, shit.
And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. So like, I always see that guy in my head. I still don't know who it was, but I see that guy in my head all the time.
Baggy pants.
I just felt so bad, like I felt bad. And like, I don't want to do that. I want to find a way to create some sort of freedom for myself. And for me, that was just working hard and create a strong real estate business. Not to say that guy didn't. I've also made some huge mistakes that have cost me massive amounts of money over the years. And I'm, currently digging out of one at the moment right now. So, these things are things that happen. But long story short, the brokerage also allows opportunity for big growth like this too. Through attracting agents to the community, you can build a revenue stream that way. There's a stock option opportunity that you can decide to jump into if you want, where you can purchase real stocks at a discount. Just a number of different ways you can build some, create some income that isn't from just selling real estate.
And because real is North American?
Real is North America. I'm sure it'll open up in other markets.
Right,
but
I just heard you guys just got 10,000 agents now.
I think it was last month. It was at 10,000. I think it's north. So when we joined, it was like 4,000 or so.
So from that aspect, could you then, is it like EXP in a way where you could potentially not open or like have people under you in different areas?
100%. So right now, my network has people from San Diego to Calgary.
Yeah, I saw these people coming on Real Collective. I'm like, so that's super, super cool because that's like how I run my business. I have a network globally, that we hang out, talk. I go and speak in Texas, this, that. And then I keep seeing on Real Collective, like this person just signed up and they're from like Arizona and this one's like from California.
They're from all over
the
place.
What?
But what's really cool is that I guess, I can finally talk about it because we're almost there. This allows us the opportunity to open the team in other markets too.
Exactly.
So the spring team in June 1st is opening in Victoria, British Columbia.
That's amazing.
And then soon after that, 2 other markets as well.
That's phenomenal.
And you can't really do that with a traditional brokerage unless that specific brokerage office is also registered somewhere else.
Right.
You can't just do that as a Remax agent or a Keller agent or whatever, because each independent office is franchised and independently owned. So it's hard to operate a team like that.
Yes.
People have tried it, and the Real Estate Council of Ontario doesn't love that, and they've cracked the whip on.
They don't.
I don't want to name them, but somebody worked really hard on creating huge expansion teams, and it didn't work out for them. So. Anyway, so it allows us the opportunity to kind of expand beyond the borders.
Yeah, and I think because what you're talking about is that in order to have, you need a broker of record that can visit one of those offices or maintain, and you can't physically be at multiple offices at once, right? So there's a threshold.
You can't really run a team at multiple brokerages unless it's like a corporate owned situation where it's all kind of under one umbrella.
Right, exactly. Because I just had a great meeting with the boys at Spark yesterday.
Well, they've got a podcast too, right? The jacked guy,
Nick. He's the best.
Yeah, I've been listening to his stuff.
He's so motivating; it's unbelievable.
Love it.
Because I'm looking in Florida for many different things, investing, real estate, potentially. Because I had been approached a few months ago from somebody who wanted to start a Fine Estates team there.
In Florida.
Right.
You're gonna be like Ferris. I
grew up with the Ferris boys.
He's got a Florida situation.
Yeah.
Don't you do Costa Rica as well?
Costa Rica? So I've actually met up with the sales team from our Costa Rica development, and I was able to sell a couple of units myself too, and work that all out. And I love it. I love that. It's just my whole business is like 90% of it's agent to agent referrals. So like my whole business is just connecting
90% of your business is agent to agent referrals?
90% of my personal business is agent to agent referrals.
Wow.
Now a lot of that is now spreading into the team, which is great. We're getting referrals from people that my team has been working with that I've introduced. And so like connecting people globally is kind of my thing.
Damn, that's pretty impressive.
And so now we're just kind of working all that out. And I just see how easy this process would be with an EXP or Real, just based on the way they've got it set up.
Yeah, and it also puts you in a mindset of growth that way. Because before I wasn't surrounded by people that were trying to expand and grow like that.
Well, and I feel like it's also because I agree, and that's why I left Royal LePage at the time. Which now they're like, it has nothing to do with them at all. It's just they all have their territories. They've got it established. Yeah. I want to be new. I want to reestablish things. But the thing is that people were a little in the industry as a whole are closed off. They don't necessarily want to help you get there. Yeah. And it's those collectives as such that help people go from nothing to wow, now they're top producing. Now they've got a team.
And you can do that without, some people just don't want to be part of a team.
I agree.
They just don't want to be part of a team, no matter whatever it is. I don't care what their excuse is, even though the team might be the best option for them, because I think every new agent should be part of a team. Like I think it's another thing that kind of sucks about the industry is that, once you're licensed, you can go out there and sell a $10 million house right away. Yeah. Great if that's your network, but like how effective are you going to be at that if you don't have the experience or at least mentored by a team of some sort? I really feel like it should be mandatory to be part of a team or at least have some sort of mentor situation going on.
Right. It's mandatory with us. You have to have a mentor for your first 12 months.
Which is awesome, which is why you've grown so like dramatically over the past few years. Like, I don't know if Ryan told you, but me and my Ryan, talk to Ryan Saravel about franchising. They're his first one.
Yeah, I remember.
In like 2018 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember, or maybe just before 2020. But I love your company.
Yeah.
I love what Revel's doing, and it's one of the companies that is definitely to watch because they do all the things that we're talking about right now. But like to talk quickly about our network and other collectives like it, it's just really easy for an agent that doesn't want to be part of a team to not feel lonely and to still get some of the support and the mentorship if they want it and if they ask for it. It's there. And you do that through the things that you're doing, contributing to all the education and growth of agents, and we do that through our network too.
Right.
So if you're a new agent out there, I would definitely either look for a team to join, or I would look for a brokerage that has a strong community of like a platform of some sort, whether it's Real Collective at Real or you know, any other group that's out there that has like a strong a training platform or some sort of regular schedule of events that you can plug yourself into, so you can start immediately getting some experience out there and meeting other agents.
I agree. I love it. Well, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. You tied it with a nice little bow there, so I think it'd be perfect. So thanks for coming on, man. And now it plug time.
Plug time.
Yep. Anything you want to say?
Anything I want to say. Well, the number one thing, I'm most active on Instagram. So if anybody wants to find me, it's Ara Mammo. I don't know if there's graphics or anything like that, but ARAMAMMO. I'm on Instagram there. I've got the Spring Team in Toronto. So that's the springteam.ca is our site. I've actually put my house on the market today. I don't know when this is going out, but
it's going on 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, never mind. Hopefully we'll be sold by then.
We'll
be sold by then.
Yeah,
but,
maybe not if you had listed in Niagara, but in Toronto.
Oh, dude, hopefully Toronto. It's Scarborough, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, so find me on Instagram. I'd love to connect, whether you're an agent or a non-agent, whoever's listening to this. That's where my conversations usually happen. And I'm toying with TikTok a little bit, but I consume more than I post on there.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a time waster for me at the moment.
Well, you know what? I had to stop. Like, you know, I had to stop with TikTok. I had to. I still post the videos, but they don't. I think
they don't get much traction on there. But you've got somebody at Revel that does. Madeline, what's her last name?
Yeah, she's killing it. She's from Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then the page on my team is killing it.
Is
like
it?
Millions and millions of views.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I never mentioned was this raccoon. Are we still recording?
Yes, please.
The raccoon.
Please.
There's a reason why I'm wearing this raccoon.
It's because my glasses. I couldn't see what the hell you're wearing.
It's the raccoon. So you can find me on Instagram, which is Ara Mammo, but also I've got a, we never even talked about the market report that I do, a weekly market report I've been running for 163 weeks in a row now at the springteam.ca/blog. It's when COVID first started, I really thought it was important to ramp up market reporting in more real time. So I don't wait for like Toronto Real Estate Board to release numbers at the end of the month, which are usually kind of, you've already missed the boat.
2 weeks late.
It's not relevant today. Yeah. So I started tracking the market weekly in very specific communities, and Real Estate Raccoons is the YouTube channel that it's all posted to. And we, you know, all the agents on the Spring Team, we're all Real Estate Raccoons because we're scrappy. We make things happen. Like, and we're just cute as hell, you know. We're good people, but that's what this raccoon situation is. In case anybody's wondering, so you can find me at Real Estate Raccoons on YouTube as well.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because I had to. I'm trying to get to 500 subs on there. YouTube's a tough nut to crack.
Oh my god, I know. We had Tom Story on there, and it just made me feel so lazy.
That guy, he's a dynamo. I love him.
Yeah, I just picked up by BAM Media as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Broke Agent Media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
because Leonetti's on there as well.
Yeah. I'm throwing my hat in the ring too, Eric, Broke Agent.
Listen, we got some cool stuff coming out, Eric. We met a long time ago at Inman when you were just a wee broke agent, and now you're a big broke agent.
Yeah. He's amazing.
We just shot a music video for my house the other day. We wrote a song to start it from the bottom, but it's started from the condo, now you're here.
Oh, I love that.
And that's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it'll be out by the time this podcast comes out.
Well, because there's another guy on Instagram that's now doing that in the States.
So his name is Steven Diaz, I think his name is in the States. So an awesome guy who I think you should have on your podcast at some point, Cash Alavi is his name. So he helped me with this video. And again, he's at Remax Hallmark, and we just did a collab on this thing. And collaboration is a myth, or sorry, competition is a myth. Competition is a myth.
Yeah.
And I believe in collaboration, cross brokerage, whatever. And he helped me out. He came over to my house. We did a full day shoot, wrote a song, produced a video. It's going to be sick.
That's
So
amazing.
hopefully
I'm
I'll get
excited about that.
on Broke Agent Media's
Yeah.
radar after that.
Try to get that collaboration on Instagram with Drake and see if he'll accept it.
Just add him as a collaborator.
Yeah, it's like what? Yeah, accidents.
I'll get a lawsuit for
accidentally
using
click
his song, probably.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah. Don't want it to blow up too much.
No,
though.
it'll blow up.
Yeah.
I've got. I believe it'll blow up. It's a sick video.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, my man. On this mic.
I know.
Two old guys trying to bend over.